Good evening, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, December 8th, 2015. It's in the Spotlight 411 show coming at you here on this Tuesday, our first of three shows this week. Before we get going, let me remind you all the ways in which you can interact and contribute to our show. You can do so by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter. You want to tweet at IT Spotlight 411. And remember to use the hashtags, hashtag IT Spotlight 411, hashtag ITS5, which represents our 5th anniversary on the air as a podcast. You could, vary it up if you want to. A lot of people have been asking me, do you always just hold to those two hashtags? You could vary it up. You could do Spotlight 411. You could have some fun with that. I have some creative freedom. Let's start to vary it up a little bit, just so people don't want to. If people don't want to be so boring and bland all the time, you can use different hashtags if you wish. You can also find us on Facebook. To search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and make sure you like our page when you find it. All right, so those are among the ways you can have your voice heard here on our show. Again, this is our first of three shows this week. Tonight will be a sports entertainment combo show. We're going to start off on the entertainment side of things for this week's edition of the Box Office Beat, and then we'll highlight the best in TV according to us over the last week, at least what we watched over the last week. And that's all we're going to do for entertainment tonight. We're not going to do any entertainment news discussion for two reasons. One, a lot of you didn't really send us a lot. That segment tends to thrive off of whether you all send things in you want us to talk about, and whether we find anything that we think is worth talking about. If we don't, if neither happens, then usually we don't do much with that segment. And given the fact that we have so much to do tonight, and Thursday is going to be a wrestling show, I figured, you know what, there's no need to do anything with entertainment news discussion this week. If there's no there's no need to do anything with it. If there's not much out there that you all want to talk about, and not much out there that we feel is worth talking about. So tonight it's just going to be Box Office Beat and TV highlights on the entertainment side. And on the sports side of things, we'll talk briefly about some things in college basketball that transpired over the last week, which isn't a lot. We did a lot of college basketball last week. Remember, we did our sports show on Thursday. So since Thursday, a lot hasn't really happened. So we'll do a couple of highlights from that. Most of our sports stuff will be revolving around baseball. The latest out of baseball's winter meetings, a lot has gone down in the last few minutes. We'll talk about those things. That's the last thing we're going to do tonight. So we'll talk more about those things later on in the show. Among those things, Ben Zobrist, Starlin Castro, those two are linked together. So there's a reason why I brought them up together. And a lot of other things coming out of the MLB winter meeting. So we'll talk about what's going on there towards the end of the show. So that will be our show for tonight. And then on Thursday, of course, will be an all-wrestling show previewing WWE's TLC pay-per-view. Of course, for those of you out there, whether you're wrestling fans or maybe you're not even a wrestling fan, is curious about things, you could, whatever the case may be, if you want to submit a question or comment for that show on Thursday, you can either do so before the show or during the show by email, Facebook, or Twitter. That will be our entire show on Thursday night. Previewing WWE TLC paper, we'll go over all the matches, make predictions, talk about all the storylines, angles, all that good stuff. And as we always do, once we do all that, with the time we have allotted left over, we will address questions and comments from the listeners. That is Thursday's show. Our Football Blitz show this week currently is going to be scheduled for Friday. Right now, I'm going to say 2:00 p.m. Eastern time, but here's the thing. We might end up doing it earlier. It's either going to be noon Eastern or 2:00 p.m. Eastern time. Right now, I'm going with 2:00 p.m. Eastern. If it changes in any way, shape, or form, I will make sure to let you all know on Thursday night's show. It will not be on Thursday this week. It will be on Friday. And again, the likelihood is it will start at 2:00 p.m. Eastern time. If there is a change, it will be moved up to around noon Eastern time. So keep all that in mind in regards to Friday for our Football Blitz show. That'll be a big show as we look at what transpired in college football last week, look at the last playoff rankings, how everything settled in for the playoffs, and of course look back at last week's NFL games and look ahead to this week. So that'll be our Football Blitz show on Friday. What else? Next week, real announcement to make. We're only going to do one show next week. Okay, one show. Now, that's going to be the start of 3 consecutive weeks in which we only do one show. So keep that in mind. Next week's one show, though, will not be on one of our normal nights. It will be on a Wednesday night. It will be next Wednesday night that we'll have our show. So keep that in mind. It'll be at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, and it'll be a combo show, sports and entertainment. And that's the way we're going to go for the next 3 weeks. It'll just be one show a week, sports, entertainment, combo shows, do all our usual stuff, and then that will be it. So, because obviously the week after that is Christmas and New Year's, and you all know the drill. So this week will be the last week in which we do 3 shows. This will be the last week we do 3 shows in 2015. And I should say, you know what? Scratch that. We'll have more than one show over the next 3 weeks. We'll have 2. It's just that that'll be the only primetime show we do. We'll be doing Football Blitz, obviously, as well. And I'll let you all know how that will work next week. Don't worry about that. But so I scratched that one show a week stuff. There'll be 2 shows. This won't be airing one primetime show, and that, of course, next week will be on Wednesday. And the 2 weeks after that, it will be on Tuesday nights. So remember all that. I deliberately confused you all. I apologize for that. All right. What my co-host is on here, Mike, you are in the spotlight. Okay. Fair enough. Apparently Mike is not gonna greet any of our fans. That's very nice. Very nice.
Suck a dick.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay.
Also, hi everybody. How is your day? Was fantastic and phenomenal, and welcome to In the Spotlight. Don't mind me looking miserable. I'm just looking miserable, Brian. Who is an ass, and I'm waiting for him to admit it.
Don't hold your breath. Okay. All right.
Oh, trust me. If I hold my breath, I will pass out, which will allow me to sleep quicker. So you don't want me to hold my breath, because then you won't get my viable and valuable analysis on all of these shitty sports topics.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, we're going to start with entertainment, and we're going to move through that relatively quickly because, well, let's be honest, this week, as far as the box office goes, there wasn't really a whole lot to look at. You had one new release, and that was a horror comedy for the holiday season in Krampus, which actually didn't do bad. It made 16.2. It made its budget back in its first weekend, so that's actually pretty good. There was more of an interest in it than I probably would have imagined, but so kudos to them on making something out of that. But other than that, you know, it pretty much went like we all thought it would. The holiday holdovers. Hunger Games was #1 again, which I think everybody pretty much expected, with 18.8 million. Good Dinosaur held strong. Most people thought that was going to be second. It wasn't. It came in a very close third behind Krampus with 15.3 million. And Creed came in fourth with 14.9. Creed's been holding very well, so that was very much expected. And Spectre came in at fifth with 5.5 night before it with 5 million. So everything pretty much where you thought it would be. The big surprise was that Krampus maybe made about, I saw some people thinking it would only make around 8 million. I think I might have said last week they'd probably pull in around 10, maybe 12 at the most. So it definitely exceeded everybody's expectations. And you know, a couple of you asked me off the air, and this wasn't even in emails. A couple of you asked me on a message board I'm on, what my theory was as to how that movie made its budget back in one weekend. And I said, well, you know, there's been a lot of talk over the last few weeks that some of the big movies didn't do as well as some people thought, which I think is kind of dumb because they pretty much did. It's just some of them didn't have the opening weekends that people thought, and then naturally that means for people that they didn't make as much, which is, you know, if you look at the numbers, you know, Spectre, Peanuts movie, Hunger Games, those three are the ones that people thought didn't have the openings that they thought they would have. They all end up making just about as much at this juncture as you would have expected. It's just that they did it a little differently. So, but anyway, if you go by the whole logic that, you know, the box office isn't doing as well as people thought it would during the holiday season, maybe Krampus just did well because people just wanted to go see something. Maybe they haven't been to the movies as much as people thought, and that happened to be what was out, and they checked it out. I don't know. Or people just thought, oh, horror comedy with a Christmas theme. We don't see that too often, which is true. You don't. So, yeah. So, Mike, do you have any theories as to how Krampus possibly made his budget back in 3 days?
That wasn't me being upset with you. That was Google Plus sucking.
Okay.
So, how did Krampus make its budget back in 3 days? Because it was the new big release. There hasn't been a good horror movie since what, Halloween. There hasn't been a good Christmas movie since that Seth Rogen thing that was out way too early, and wow, fell to 6th in its 3rd week. Couldn't even make it and stay in the top 5 until December. Yikes. So, was that a good idea in the end? Survey says no. It was December. It's a Christmas themed movie. It's a horror movie. The adults wanted to go out and see something for adults. Paul Rudd's still a bit of a draw, you know. He had this surprise hit this year. I don't know if you know it, but it's called Ant-Man. So Paul Rudd's having a bit of a resurgence. And I guess because people don't want to see a crappy Hunger Games movie again for the 4th time. It's number 1, so people are still seeing it for whatever stupid reason. But hey, Transformers was a movie that repeated at number 1 a few times, and nobody could figure out why those people saw those shit fests. So it was the newest, biggest release. Paul Rudd has some good mojo going for him, no pun intended. It's Christmas themed, and it's closer to Christmas. And hell, why not? It's a horror movie, close to Christmas. There are your reasons. I have this text message that I have to answer.
I think your point about the Paul Rudd thing is actually a really good one. That's probably one of the best explanations. But I also think too, you know, if you think about the movies that you know are still dominating, mind you, but look, anybody that the only people right now that are going to check out Good Dinosaur and Hunger Games are the very few people that haven't seen it. The diehards have already come out. Creed's going to keep getting more and more people because as it gets closer to award season, it's going to get a lot of hype. But you know, the big budget movies, the Hunger Games, the Spectres, the Good Dinosaur, those are movies that, especially when you're talking about coming out around the holidays, those are movies that get their big surges right around the holidays, unless they're a special kind like an Avatar or an Avengers or something. Then they can keep getting these big numbers. And so when a movie like Krampus comes out, you know, and again, we look at the first week of December as traditionally a lull week, a week where some movie just gets tossed out and said, well, see what you can do. And the smaller the budget, the better chance it has. This one had a reasonable budget, and it pulled it in. But I do think to an extent, you know, you look at these movies, anybody that wanted to see Hunger Games probably already did. All right, except for the very few that probably didn't, and that's very few. Anybody that wanted to see Good Dinosaur, most of them are going to see it during the day anyway, because it's more of a family movie anyway. But the majority of people more than likely already did. You know, Creed, again, will just keep getting more and more attention. Spectre, that's been out for weeks. So I left, if you are somebody that wanted to go see a new movie, you only had one choice. And if it interested you in any way, which it might have because it's something, it's different. It's original, it's different, it's not something you get all the time, then if you were intrigued by that, then You went out and saw it. And I think that's what happened. People just were intrigued by it. It had a very good promotional campaign. It was everywhere. And it did what it did. And it was themed for Christmas, I know it was a horror deal, and it's horror comedy, but still, it was themed for Christmas. So it's seasonal. So it got people's attention, and it did well. Now, outside of that, you had a couple of limited releases, which we mentioned the last few weeks, like Spotlight.
Real quick, I noticed you passed by The Good Dinosaur real quick.
Okay.
You said it was a family movie that people would go see during the day. School's still in session, so no, they won't. So if they're going to see it, they're going to see it a lot during the day on the weekends, especially over the week. It's going to be hard. And number two, The Good Dinosaur is really a hard PG movie. And you know what? I've had enough kids who have seen this movie say, how is this a PG movie? The Good Dinosaur ends up being a very hard PG movie. So maybe parents hear about it through the grapevine. And then maybe they say, well, why would we take our kids to see this movie? This is The Good Dinosaur. I mean, it had a lot of good buzz, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, like, it's a movie that, while it's a good, and they trying to keep it as accurate as possible, they are dinosaurs. The brains weren't very big, scientifically speaking. Their brains weren't very big, and they were savage creatures. Some of them were not. So, I mean, Pixar is always this thing that wants to keep originality, you know? You want to try to keep it as accurate as possible while making it accessible to everybody. The problem is, like, there were some things in this movie that kids were like, whoa. So the big thing about The Good Dinosaur is, and it said, oh, it could be Pixar's first loss. It won't be Pixar's first loss. But I will say this. It is an extraordinarily hard, like, PG. And I am surprised, you know, that Pixar, like, was able to kind of get away with it. And look, their budget's $200 million. It's the second or third week in release, and they're at 131. It might be a little difficult for them to kind of make up that mileage, if you know what I mean.
Right.
But the thing with Pixar is so much.
You know what's interesting is it was delayed. This was supposed to be their movie last year, and they delayed it. And it's just very interesting that and to your point, and I made the point, well, I was thinking more along the lines of during the weekend, because if you look at movie showings, it's even Pixar movies, primarily most of their showings for animated movies are during the day. There are a few showings at night, but not nearly as many as there probably should be, because there are a lot of adults that do want to see an animated movie every once in a while. But to that point, you think about what you said about being a hard PG and the there is some criticism, and that does speak to the point that with this movie, the majority of people that wanted to see it probably already did. And that was probably the one movie, like, over the Thanksgiving weekend that people jumped out and drove to see, because at that point Hunger Games had already been out a week. And more than likely, if you look at how it tracked, most people that wanted to see it probably already did. That did leave an opening for Krampus as far as adults and young audiences go to go see, as far as new releases go, or as far as movies that people hadn't seen, that left things open for Krampus to kind of dominate the whole unseen movie demographic. Okay, whether it's a holdover you haven't seen or a new movie, it was the only new movie out, and most of the other movies have probably already been seen already by most people. So there you go. It had really no competition to deal with. It just had to sell itself, and it must have sold itself to somebody. So,
well, The Big Dinosaur is also the last big, like, animated movie.
Yeah.
However, it's not the last big family movie this year.
No.
That movie has that major shit fest known as shit fest seems to be the word of the day. That shit fest known as Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Yeah.
The
Which I keep forgetting about.
Turd. Well, I'm seeing more stuff about it now, and
Yeah.
I am insulted by the fact that I actually went back and made third or fourth.
It's the fourth one, was it? I think it's the fourth one.
I'm insulted that they wouldn't just let that one die. Yes, it's not. Is it the no? It's the it was the Squeakquill. It was Chipwrecked. It is the fourth one.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first one technically was the Chipmunk Adventure, which was the good animated one.
Right.
Literally, the Chipmunk Adventure was where Alvin and the Chipmunks peaked, and it literally has gone down since then. So, I mean, I'm glad somebody's making money off this turd, but Alvin and the Chipmunks 4. So, do you want to know what's going to be the final nail in the Good Dinosaur's coffin? It's Alvin and the Chipmunks 4. The Turd Floats.
The ironic part is
it's not actually subtitled. It's not actually subtitled The Turd Floats.
No. The ironic part is it's coming that they feel so confident in it because look, these movies. If you remember, the first Alvin and the Chipmunks came out alongside Avatar and the first Sherlock Holmes movie, Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law.
Yeah, finished third.
It did well. All three of those movies did well. And that gave them the confidence that they could release these Alvin and the Chipmunk movies in December against anything they wanted to. And that's exactly what they've done over the years. And they're doing it again. They're releasing it the same weekend as Star Wars.
But therein lies the problem. They're releasing it against Star Wars, which children and adults are going to go see.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately,
yeah, it's going to get it.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm actively rooting for Star Wars to stamp out Alvin and the Chipmunks forever. At least this iteration of Alvin and the Chipmunks is CGI turds.
It's well, we know it's not going to threaten Star Wars winning the weekend. That's for sure. Not in the least. All right, so, well, we'll talk about that infamous battle at the box office going in a few weeks. Couple of lower budget independent movies that we've been tracking. I mentioned Spotlight and Brooklyn did okay this weekend, 2.8 million, 2.4 million, respectively. So if you're interested in those, again, check your local theater listings. Although I think most people right now, as far as awards movies go, are interested in Creed more than anything else. All right, so now you look ahead to this weekend coming, and this is where we turn the corner. Okay, last week was kind of the breather weekend, right? This weekend you're turning the corner as we start to build towards the big event, which is Star Wars and some of the other, and what's left of the big holiday movies, which you'll see play out during Christmas week. And this weekend you have a movie called In the Heart of the Sea from Warner Brothers, opening over 3,050 theaters. It's a drama starring Chris Hemsworth. Directed by Ron Howard, Chris Hemsworth, Benjamin Walker, Cillian Murphy, all in this movie. It's they're pushing 3D and IMAX with it, so it's going to be getting revenue from there. It's already made 18.5 million overseas, so it's done very well there. It's expected to do okay. I think it's going to do okay here. I don't think it's going to do great. I think it's going to do okay here. It's probably going to make a lot more money overseas. Although Hemsworth does draw very well, and Ron Howard being attached to it's going to help it. Visually, it looks amazing. It is one of those movies that people are watching for awards consideration, as far as the whole, because it does seem like sometimes the Oscars and the Golden Globes like to try to throw a bone to the epic fantasy film. So this might be the one they throw it to this year. I don't expect it's going to be number one this weekend, only because you figure everything else is going to be below 15 million. This movie is going to at least make 15 million. I'm thinking at the max for this movie, 25 million opening, to be honest, max, but that wouldn't be horrible for it. And then outside of that, you're probably looking at Hunger Games in second, around 10. Krampus will probably drop to around 5 million. Good Dinosaur, maybe 8, 9 million, and you fill in the gaps around there. Creed, maybe 7 million. And that's pretty much what you're looking at for this weekend. Outside of In the Heart of the Sea, that's the only major release. You do have some expanding releases. Legend, a crime drama from Universal, is expanding to a nationwide release. It's already made 959,000 domestic so far. It's R-rated. Christopher Eccleston, Karen Edgerton, Tom Hardy, all-star in that movie. Has got some buzz going for it, so check your local theater listings for that, as that will be expanding its release. And another movie to keep an eye on is another movie called The Big Short. It's a drama from Paramount. It's opening in limited release in 7 theaters. It will be expanding over the next few weeks. R-rated, starring Christian Bale, Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, Brad Pitt, Melissa Leo, and Marissa Tomei, and directed by Anna McKay. Brad Pitt is the producer. It's a big movie. Has a lot of buzz around it as far as awards go. Again, it'll be expanding its release over the next few weeks. It's an interesting movie, to say the least. It's about 4 outsiders in the world of high finance who predicted the credit and housing bubble collapse of the mid-2000s, and they decide to take on the big banks. And it's something that I see getting a lot of traction. And it will be opening in 7 theaters this weekend, so check your local theater listings. It'll probably get more traction as you get closer to the award season in January. So that's it for this week. And look, the reason why is, everybody's kind of like, everybody knows what's going to happen next weekend with Star Wars. And then, of course, Alvin and the Chipmunks. And also coming out next weekend, Amy Poehler and Tina Fey's first R-rated comedy together, Sisters. So that will be out next weekend. And the week after, you got some big movies, several big movies. The Big Short will expand around then. You have The Hateful Eight. You have The Revenant opening in limited release, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. Point Break, Joy, Daddy's Home, Will Ferrell's latest movie, and then Will Smith's Concussion. So you have a lot coming out later in the month. So this week's kind of like the calm before the storm. It's, no pun intended, In the Heart of the Sea coming out. So it'll be a better week as far as the new release doing probably around 20 million or so, but it's just the precursor to the big stuff. Mike, do you have anything to add as far as what's coming up here?
They're doing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Batman crossover comic.
I saw that, yeah.
Because they couldn't find, I imagine because they couldn't find another superhero in the DC lineup more relevant to interact with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And by relevant, I don't mean, the Ninja Turtles are Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman is just Batman. No, I mean any other DC character as popular as Batman. Because it's Batman. I'm actually moderately interested in that. I don't know, we're talking about the future box office. Here's the future box office. Star Wars, end of discussion.
Mike's already ready to move on to next week because that's what everybody's focused on.
All right, do you want to know the box office? We are in the pre-Star Wars era of the current box office. This is just everybody waiting for Star Wars. Next week is everybody going to be waiting for Star Wars even more. The week after, this week is this week. Next week is, Star Wars. And the week after is going to be, Star Wars again. Congratulations. I just wrapped up your segment.
Thank you. Well,
you're welcome. Eat a dick.
Next week, this is going to be a very focused segment on Star Wars, because we're going to be trying to figure out how not only obviously it's going to be a #1 movie and it's going to do well. We all know that. How much it actually makes, and it's going to be very interesting to track this movie over the next week, because wow, it's been historic in how it's been selling tickets in advance and everything. The week before a movie is released is always the week where you can kind of get a gauge of how big it's going to be. So it'll be very interesting to see over the next week how things come together for the movie, as far as how much it could draw in its opening weekend and beyond. So, all right. So enough about the box office. Let's move on to our highlights from TV this week, which I'm going to actually let Mike start, because I didn't watch a lot in TV this week. And number one, if you consider last time we did this segment, it was last Tuesday, and since then I pretty much watched maybe 3 shows, and 2 of them I thought were awful. So there you go. So mine's going to be very limited. So I'll let Mike start this segment off and give us what he thought in this week in TV, as far as what he watched was beyond epic, by his terms here.
Take a guess.
Doctor Who.
Okay. Why would I say Doctor Who?
Because it was epic?
Because they probably put out... Okay. Last week, the episode was called Heaven Sent. And it was considered one of the single greatest episodes in the show's 52-year history. 52 years. And last week had one of the greatest episodes of them all. To follow that episode up, this episode, which was entitled Hellbent, which was the season finale, had to have been pretty damn epic. And we use epic as a buzzword nowadays. It's kind of lost its meaning a little bit.
Yeah.
But that really, really is a good word to describe Hellbent. Was it as good as the previous episode? Not a whole lot can be as good as the previous episode. Mm-hmm. Let's be clear here. Heaven Sent was pure brilliance. Hellbent, however, was a very, very worthy follow-up to Heaven Sent. It tied up the season extraordinarily well. It helps, though, when you follow the single best episode all season with the second best episode all season. This one was good. It ties up the Clara Oswald storyline. Peter Capaldi did amazing work. Jenna Coleman was on her A game. The writing was good. I felt like, despite it being 65 minutes, it probably could have used an extra 5 or 10. But with that being said, it was a wonderfully brilliant episode. The Doctor is now off, restarting his adventures again. Instead of spending 4.5 billion years inside a confession dial. It was pretty awesome. And then, well, now we've got the Christmas episode on the way. And I cannot wait for the Christmas episode. It's the return of River Song, as played by Alex Kingston. And that Christmas episode was the reason why she didn't appear in Arrow for the last 2 weeks, despite explicitly being mentioned. And by the way, the Arrow Flash crossover was really, really good. Legends of Yesterday and Legends of Today were the two names of the 2 episodes, and they were really well done. It introduced Vandal Savage. And what are the odds? In the end, Oliver Queen beat him. It's like they're making him Batman.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yep.
I guess he had some help with Flash, but Flash's powers. So it was a really, really good two-parter, and we're bound to get something good with both shows tonight for Flash, and Wednesday for Arrow. And starting soon is, I think, just in a few weeks, New Year, is Legends of Tomorrow.
Right.
Which is, they did a good job. And see, this is where Marvel kind of got it wrong with Iron Man 2, is they wasted that entire movie introducing the Avengers concept. They took these 2 episodes, kind of introduced certain elements for the Legends of Tomorrow series. Vandal Savage, Hawkman, Hawkgirl. In his Vandal Savage's impact in time. However, they kept the through line stories going, which was extremely important. And everything on Flash and everything on Arrow made sense. And their stories were advanced. The only character who was a little out of character was Damien Dark. But Neil McDonough played that part to excellence anyway. So it was what it was. They were really good episodes, and they kind of succeeded somewhere where Iron Man and Marvel didn't. Who knew?
Yeah, right.
What did I see? What else did I see? Saw Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It happened. It was okay. Wasn't outstanding. I like Clark Gregg was great. It's just
That ending was insane.
it was a good ending, but it's just, see, I really had a hard time getting into it a little bit. I really did. I don't know, but Agents, it was fine for what it was. And I really, really enjoyed Clark Gregg's work, and I have to stress that because he made that episode. And then Mac was really good. Ward, I don't know. I don't know. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was just okay. What else did I see? The Grinder was funny. That's a good show we don't talk about. Starring Rob Lowe. The Grinder is about 15 kinds of funny. The Fox show, it's like 30 Rock, only not so much 30 Rock. It's got like that kind of style humor, and it was really, really, really good. This episode was I don't know, it was funny. It was very funny. They do good work on that show. I hope it sticks around. I really do. I hope it sticks around. Other than that, what did I see? The Middle was eh. They've had better episodes. I don't care about, what's that other one? Ed O'Neill, Sofia Vergara.
Oh, Modern Family.
Yeah, I just couldn't bring myself to care. Wasn't that great? People are going to find it to be one of the funnier episodes. I just see Modern Family is hit or miss with me. I enjoy The Middle, but I couldn't. But it wasn't. That one wasn't my favorite episode. Even though it was pretty good, it just wasn't my favorite. But people will like it. What else did I see? I saw a lot of television this week, and I didn't want to or even mean to. But I ended up seeing Blue Bloods, but that show's been on forever, and it's still pretty good. The whole thing, Blue Bloods gets a mention on the show.
Yeah.
I have not. Was Gotham on last week?
It was on last Monday. They had their finale last Monday.
Oh.
Remember you and me watched the end of it. Remember the Mr. Freeze thing?
Oh yeah. I did see. I
Watched
saw
the
Gotham
ending of
last
it.
night.
Yeah.
God, Gotham sucks.
Yep.
Like, here's the thing. There are actors and subplots on that show which are fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if that show stopped being about Jim Gordon and started focusing more on Bruce Wayne and Alfred and Selena Kyle, it would be a much better show.
Yeah, agreed.
Or if it focused on the actual villains, like Penguin. Like, I just named the 4 characters who are literally the most interesting parts of the show. Harvey Bullock is a fantastic character with a fantastic actor playing him, and he barely gets mentioned.
Yeah.
That dude was your strongest character in the police department in terms of entertainment, in terms of character development, in terms of just being good. And you focused on the conflict of interest between Michael Chiklis and Michael Chiklis' character and Jim Gordon, who is Jim Gordon has look. They're doing a portrayal of a what could be Jim Gordon on some random Earth. Now, is this the start of the actual Jim Gordon in the actual Batman world? Then this is not how you do that.
No, it's not.
If this is just Jim Gordon, a fan fiction, Gary Stu, Jim Gordon, then hell yeah, you're doing a great job. Not really, but yeah. And the fact that Mr. Freeze now just got aged up and is not a contemporary Bruce Wayne is what's the word?
Stupid?
No, it's not that word. What's the word? Oh, bullshit.
There you go.
You're welcome. Gotham sucks.
Yeah. I mentioned this last week. I'm not gonna go into Gotham because that was not a highlight of TV. Let me just say this. Let me just say this about I only watched 3 shows this week. I didn't watch Arrow this week.
Should.
I just didn't get to it. Like there's a couple times where it was there and I just didn't get to it. And usually I get to Arrow. That's one of the shows. Arrow and Flash I always get to. I just never did. And it wasn't because of another show. It was just because I couldn't get to DVR when I wanted to. So I haven't watched either one, but I heard good things, so I haven't got to them. Only reason why I got to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because I watched it on demand downstairs because my wife wanted to watch it. Otherwise, I wouldn't even gotten to that this week. And I didn't even get to South Park this week, so I can't even give you advice on that. The 3 shows I watched this week were coincidentally since Tuesday. Okay, keep in mind since Tuesday because I did watch Gotham last week because you were there when I saw parts of it.
And you're welcome for introducing you to good television previously with Doctor Who.
Right, and I am gonna do with all these all my shows that I watch like right away being off for next month. I'm probably gonna start doing some Doctor Who in the next month or so.
Start with Series 8. Go with Capaldi.
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna start watching the Capaldi stuff and then go from there. But anyway, all I watched this week were. I caught up on and these are past episodes, so keep that in mind. I caught up on what do you call it? God, what is the name of that show? Blind Spot. And I caught up on I did watch Modern Family. And I watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That was the only 3 shows I watched this week. And again, pretty much all of these were like not even like I didn't set out to watch them, they just happened. I didn't care for Modern Family. Blind Spot was and that's a show I actually like. It's just that it's starting to lose me a little bit. Agents of Shield. You know what's funny? You're the first person I think I've talked to that was actually very meh on Agents of Shield this week.
Meh.
Because every you know what perplexed me? I thought it was good. Okay, I thought it was good, especially the last 15 minutes. I thought were really good. I didn't think I read. I can't tell you how many reviews I read over the last week. People saying that was the best episode they've ever done.
It wasn't.
It was not. It was not the. I will say this. I like the ending sequence with them on the plane and him jumping out. That was one hell of a freaking sequence. And the build up with Ward and that. I liked all that, but and I'm not trying to spoil anything here. I didn't like the fact that the way we started the episode with taking out a character that quickly. That was built up the entire first half of the season. And I know that everything on S.H.I.E.L.D. plays out in real time, and they hadn't been on for 2 weeks. So it's kind of like, okay, in that 2 weeks, they got they were already close, and Coulson knew we could trust her and everything. I understand all that. But at the same time, and I appreciate an abrupt kind of thing like that. It's good for drama. But it felt like I really wish they hadn't done it that way without more build up, only because I don't think Coulson need more of a reason to go after Ward.
Yeah, he does. He needed to make it personal, apparently.
It's already. I mean, look, him kidnapping Fitz and Simmons again would have made it personal. I mean, he's already he freaking tried to kill them before. He tortured Bobby for a freaking whole episode. He, the whole thing with Andrew and I mean, come on, there's enough things there where it didn't need it, and I appreciate. And I'm not saying they didn't have to have Ward kill her. It just didn't have to be done the way it was. I just felt like there should have been more there, but I digress. The rest of the episode I liked. It built up. There was big stuff going on. They finally did something. I finally felt like Malik was doing more than just talking. It came together good at the end.
He did something more than just pretend. He was the most interesting man in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. You cannot have that episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. run the same TV week as Heaven Sent.
Okay, you need to stop comparing it to Doctor Who. Nothing.
No, I'm sorry. Once you've had the best, you shit on the rest.
All right, you know what I think you should do? I think you should not watch any show but Doctor Who, and then watch everything a couple months after Doctor Who's over and reevaluate.
But
seriously.
Why would I do that? Person of Interest starts in 3 weeks.
Okay, all right. Well, because anything that you watch after Doctor Who is going to look like complete ass.
Everything I'm going to watch after that episode is going to look like complete ass.
Yeah,
especially since it was kind of the same kind of tonal thing.
Right.
Only, let's see, Doctor Who played the Lost thing a little bit better.
Yeah,
and they built up to their death a little bit better.
Right. No, that's why I'm. Yeah.
But hey, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. it's on fire, and it aired already right now. So, Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Go look how Coulson beat the crap out of Ward on the alien planet. I'm sure it'll be super interesting. And even more interesting about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., this is the one question about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that everybody wants to know. More than, did Coulson beat up Ward? Did they make it back safely? How are they going to stop Hydra's plans? Did they rescue Will? Isn't that what matters in the end? Didn't they rescue Will?
Okay. All right.
But he's our Gary Stu. We need Will.
All right. But like I said, that was pretty much the only. I liked the episode one. It was probably the best of the things I watched. It was the best of the three. It was good. I'm looking more forward to the mid-season finale because all along I've been hearing that this is a game changer kind of thing. It's going to set up everything, probably get us towards Civil War and all this other stuff. So I look forward to what they're going to do tonight. in terms of broader Marvel things. But nonetheless, it was the only thing that I watched this week that was any good. Again, keep in mind I only watched 3 things. So that's why I let Mike take control of that segment, because I didn't have enough of a sample size. All right, so we're going to move on now to the sports side of things. And we're going to, again, there wasn't a whole lot. We're going to do college basketball. We're going to do the winter meeting stuff from baseball, and that's going to be the end of the show. A lot of people have been asking me, though, let me just touch on something really quick. A lot of people have been asking me to talk about the whole Golden State thing. They're 21-0, record-breaking. I don't want to talk about it yet for a reason. Number one, I don't like jinxing teams. And I feel like the more we talk about them, the more we jinx them. Number two, I don't want to talk about it yet until either the streak is over or it's gotten to the point where it's like, you know, it's just gotten to this epic point where it's something that it's beyond comprehension, okay? And it's starting to get to that, but I'm not ready to do anything with that yet. So table that for right now. College basketball, we're going to do a little bit, and there wasn't a lot. Remember, we talked about sports on Thursday. We did a lot of college basketball. Since Thursday, there really hasn't been a whole lot. Syracuse and Georgetown renewed their rivalry. It wasn't pretty for Syracuse. But that's what happened when you don't play 2 solid halves of basketball. But kudos to Mike Hopkins. He did the best he could, and DeJuan Coleman actually kind of shined in that game for the first time. So that was good. Then you had I lost my train of thought. So I'm trying to think of the team. Lord help me. The other big thing from this week, I mean, Kentucky losing UCLA. That's what I was looking for. Sorry about that. It's blank for Kentucky losing to UCLA, which was a big loss. A big win for UCLA. Big win for UCLA. One that they needed. And a tough loss for Kentucky. And again, you know what's funny? For those of you that have been watching, I should say, the NFL show that I do on Thursdays or Fridays, whatever day we use, the NFL Blitz show. I've been saying that, you know, for the last couple of weeks, you've been feeling like you were getting to the Patriots losing, like they were having so many close calls. And even though Kentucky hasn't been having close calls, you can almost sense that there was something coming. And here it was. They lost, and, you know, it was a big loss there. And then yesterday, which I thought was a neat thing, on Fox Sports 1, they did like a Pearl Harbor Invitational, and they've been paying tribute to the history of Pearl Harbor the last couple of days, Fox, with their NFL coverage, and then, of course, with their college basketball invitational game yesterday, Pearl Harbor Invitational, which featured Oklahoma and Villanova, which really was Oklahoma's first, in my estimation, true test, and they passed. A great win against, and I hate the Zeus, and Mike's gonna be upset, but again, a big performance against Villanova. And, you know, Ron Kruger's there now as a coach. You know, he's got a very good pedigree, and we all said, you know, I told you, I said at the beginning of the year, I knew they were gonna be a good team, but they have been very, very impressive. You know, it's really been fun to watch them. I've seen a couple of games of theirs. This was the first game I watched a good amount of with them. But yeah, they are a fun team to watch, and they can put up points, and keep an eye on them. I mean, they're a potential Final Four team. They are a really, really, really good team right now, I would say. I think that right now they're a team. Buddy Hield is going to be I think he's going to be the player of the year. I think he's going to be a player of the year. I really do. He's my pick for player of the year right now. He has been amazing so far this year. I like and that's really been the biggest thing. Now, tonight you got the Jimmy V Classics going on. Jimmy V Classic going on, which is always a big event. And obviously I encourage anybody to give to cancer research to the Jimmy V Foundation, which is a great foundation. And don't just give during this week, give routinely, because they do a lot of events throughout the year, and they're just a great organization. They do a lot of great things, and they raise a lot of money. So they're a great organization. So if you can give to them, go for it. It's amazing. But tonight you got West Virginia, Virginia, which Virginia won 70-54 as part of the Jimmy V Classic. And then, of course, later on tonight, you also have Maryland and Connecticut, which Maryland has dropped to number 6 after a loss to North Carolina on the ACC Big Ten Challenge, which is another big game this week. Virginia, I should say that Virginia game was interesting because that was Virginia handing West Virginia their first loss. So that's important. But Maryland, Connecticut coming up later tonight. That's a big game there. Florida, Miami taking place tonight. Miami has beaten Florida 66-55. And then you also got SMU and Michigan tonight, which is a good game too. So I mean, that's really the only games tonight. You got a lot of big games, and then outside of that, you had Syracuse, Georgetown on Saturday. Kentucky, UCLA. So, I mean, those are among the big highlights from this week. And then Oklahoma, Villanova last night. Mike, do you have any kind of college basketball highlights that you want to bring about here?
I'm assuming you threw.
I
right?
did. I asked you about what any thoughts you had on college basketball since last Thursday-ish.
Last Thursday-ish. They weren't positive as a Syracuse fan. Hopkins did a great job, but they played like crap at Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they came back. And they lost by what, 7? That could have been way worse. It's just they were down by way more. And look, I know that Tyler Cooney is a senior. He's a guard, and he is one of the primary options. He should not be a primary option. He is not that great. And he shouldn't even be the guy holding the ball in crunch time. If anything, that should be Benajay, or that should be Leiden, or Roberson. Those are your options. And I noticed Coleman's doing a little bit better. Leiden's getting less minutes. I don't like that. You should find a way to keep them both on the floor. If that means you have to bench Trevor Cooney, then bench Trevor Cooney. But anyway, Syracuse didn't do too good. They couldn't score in overtime against Wisconsin. I'm not sure why. But I honestly haven't been paying a bunch of attention to college basketball the last couple of days. Our last couple, I don't know, weekend. I was busy. I wasn't around to sit down and actually watch a college basketball game. Wow. Duke beat Buffalo. I am shocked and or awed. You know, that happened, right?
Right. There was a big loss on Sunday and a big loss last night.
Oh my goodness. Davidson lost to North Carolina.
No.
It's crazy.
Kentucky loses to UCLA.
Would you let me talk? Shut the fuck up. But as I'm building up to it, Brian.
Sure.
You have to let me build up to these things, or else you're not going to get the full effect.
Oh, okay. Sure, okay.
So I respectfully advise you to shut the fuck up. But yes, as you said, you spoiled it, you dickweed. Kentucky lost to UCLA they dropped one to a Pac-12 team of all things. That was surprising in of itself. And then, it was compounded on the fact that Villanova somehow got trashed. Trashed by Oklahoma. It wasn't even that close. They got whooped.
Yep.
Long and short, they got whooped. Let's see, it was hard as it was hard to watch. You know what I mean? It was a little hard to watch. But of course, in my case, I actually mean the highlights. I didn't watch the game. But I'm just saying, it was hard. Villanova looked like they didn't know what they were doing. But you know what?
Mm-hmm.
For them, I'm very happy that it took place right now, so they can kind of work on this, especially since they had to interrupt their major Big Six march to the championship. March to the Big Six to play a top 10 win. However, I feel kind of bad. I'm spelling agents wrong. I don't know what to make of that. That's how tired I am. I can't even spell that right. But I digress. College basketball. The world didn't shake that much. Syracuse went from 14-19 to out in everything. Kentucky is going to fall a little bit. And I guess Villanova is going to fall out of the top 10, and they got to rebound and regroup. So there's your college basketball world. Not a whole lot changes, but some things do. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, it wasn't. If you're talking since Thursday, there really wasn't a whole lot. And outside of Kentucky, UCLA, Villanova, Oklahoma, and Syracuse, Georgetown. A lot of the big stuff is tonight. Again, Connecticut, Maryland still to come. Virginia beats West Virginia, gives them their first loss. Florida, Miami tonight. Miami beat Florida. So that's the big stuff has really been tonight as far as this week goes, outside of those 3 games I mentioned. Other than obviously NFL and college football, which we'll cover on our Football Blitz show later this week. And then, of course, the Golden State Warriors, which I already addressed. And then, college basketball. Outside of that, baseball has been the only other thing really of note, and that's because the winter meetings are taking place this week, and that's usually when things start to pick up. Although two of the big 2 pitchers on the market both signed prior to the winter meetings, that being David Price, who we talked about last week, and now Zach Greinke, who signed over the weekend, surprised with Arizona. And people look, I'm not going to talk about the money because we all know the money's absurd. I'm not going to talk about the years because we all know the years are absurd. And here's the thing, I just want a brief note on Greinke real quick. A lot of people were surprised he left the Dodgers. I wasn't, and I wasn't shocked because here's the thing. I don't think he was never a big market guy. He was never a big market guy. That's why when he was traded from the Royals, a lot of the big markets didn't really go near. He wasn't a big market guy. And when he ended up with the Dodgers, there was a part of me that was skeptical of him even performing well with the Dodgers. He ended up doing so, and a lot of people question, well, if he's not a big market guy, how did he do well with the Dodgers? Well, I think, let me put it to you this way. While a big market, the Dodgers are not, it's easier to deal with their fans and their press than it is the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Mets. It's just a different thing, okay? Their press is just not as harsh on you. It's not, the pressure is there, but it's not as bad. So I think I can understand maybe why he was able to, and plus, it wasn't always all on him. He had Clayton Kershaw there to take on the load. So it helps when you're not the only ace on the team. Now he's going to Arizona, which is more him. It's more him. And, even if they don't win, he made it abundantly clear a long time ago it was more about the money with him anyway. So I'm not surprised. Arizona's done a lot of things. They've just traded for Shelby Miller, which is a new development. So now there's another guy in back of Greinke, so he's going to have some help. Arizona's is all in on this. Shelby Miller's been on the market for a while. Basically a young prospect package, goes back to the Braves. Shelby Miller's been on the market for a while. Yankees ran him for a little bit. The Diamondbacks have the prospects, and they got it done. And now they get Shelby Miller to pair with Zach Greinke. They're looking to upgrade their bullpen, which they got some good arms there already, but looking to get a little more upgraded there. They got Paul Goldschmidt. They're looking to do some things with their lineup. Arizona's going for it. They had a couple bad years. They're going back. They're all in. They've been aggressive. Seattle's made a couple moves. They might have to wait a couple minor moves. Aoki's there now. I mean, they made some They really can't do a whole lot. There was rumors a couple weeks ago about Cano, but they really can't trade that contract. So, but they've been aggressive. You can see the Angels are trying to do something that might move C.J. Wilson. But the big stuff, obviously, everybody's been fixated on. You got the big outfielders like Jason Haywood. You got Chris Davis as a first baseman out there. You look at the big offensive players who really haven't gotten a lot of focus because so much of it has been on Greinke and Price. Now they're off the board. The big offensive players the focus is starting to shift to them. Lackey's gone to the Cubs. There's another pitcher. Zimmerman went to. So a lot of the big pitchers are off the board. You've seen now Zobrist. The big news before we went on the air tonight was Ben Zobrist got signed by the Cubs, which is what allowed them to want to move Starlin Castro, who got traded to the Yankees tonight, for Adam Warren and Brendan Ryan. So the Yankees get rid of Brendan Ryan, who they clearly didn't want to have around anymore. They give up a good player in Adam Warren, and they get a second baseman. So they've covered that. Obviously, one of the big if you've been following the coverage today, one of the big things was focused on Jose Fernandez, the Marlins ace, 23-year-old Marlins ace, who's already had Tommy John surgery in his career. He's under team control for 3 years, so it's a great contract, and he's an ace right now. He's developing what a lot of teams have jumped in on him because it looked like the Marlins had made him available, despite their prognostication that they didn't. And he's still been a topic of conversation, and he might still be throughout the rest of this week and even beyond. Now that the Marlins have made it clear that they trade him for the right price, whether he gets traded or not is we'll see. But the one thing I would say about Fernandez is this: there have been rumors, and again, you take everything with a grain of salt unless you know for a fact, and there's no way of really knowing for a fact at this particular juncture. It's been said that he might have attitude issues. You got a guy with Tommy John has already had Tommy John surgery, and there is this feeling that after 5 or 6 years, there's potential for him to have it again. So if you're somebody that wants to take those risks. Not to mention the fact he's represented by Scott Boras, and in 3 years, whether he likes your team or not, he is going to hit the free agent market because he's got Scott Boras as his agent. So if you're worried about any of that, Boras, injury risk, or attitude problem, then you don't go after this guy because basically what's going to happen is they're going to ask for a lot in return for him. You've already seen the Dodgers kind of back away. The Diamondbacks have backed away a little bit. The Yankees probably backed away a little bit. They're just – if you think it's worth the risk, then God bless you. But there are risks there, right? But Fernandez really took over all the talk this morning. It was all about him, and then it was about Ben Zobrist. I've been very interested in how Ben Zobrist, because obviously outside the pitching, he's been the name that people have talked about the most. Which is weird because you think they'd be talking more about guys like Jason Haywood or Chris Davis, big power-hitting position players. Zobrist is a good player, but he's 35 years old. And he's essentially a journeyman infielder. like, I am stunned that he's gotten this much. So much so that there was talk today that he was getting a 4-year, $80 million deal from somebody. And clearly that was probably hogwash. But you know, and the Mets, you know, were interested in him from day one. Well, they didn't get him. The Cubs got him, and a 4-year, $56 million deal. So whoever was, you know, was pushing the whole, you know, $80 million thing was ridiculous. But nonetheless, Zobrist is now off the board. So you figure, and again, I don't understand how he got this much attention, even though he's a really solid player, but with his age, and I just don't understand. But with Zobrist off the board, now you figure the focus will go to the outfielders and the other position players. And that's going to be a big source from discussion the rest of the winter meetings, no doubt about it. And you'll probably hear Jose Fernandez, because with him out there, he's obviously, I mean, with all the big pitchers off the market, people are going to be looking for pitching through trades. And that goes for the bullpen as well, because, I mean, there's not a big market for bullpen guys. Pitching is just going to be easier through trades at this point. You know the Yankees have been shopping Andrew Miller, so you figure people will be calling him about that. That probably might be a source of discussion the rest of this week. But I think over the rest of these winter meetings, which really it really amounts to more tonight and tomorrow. Once you get to Thursday, if nothing's done, it just keeps being discussed, and and you probably are looking at nothing getting done until next week. If any deals that go into Thursday usually don't get done, that doesn't mean that the deals are dead. It just means they don't get done because people are on their way out on Thursday, and then you're not going to talk to them pretty much till next week. So.
Who was the Yankees player you mentioned they were looking to shop?
Looking to shop? They're shopping Andrew Miller.
Okay, not Adam Warren.
Well, they traded Adam Warren.
Yeah, they traded Adam Warren.
They traded him for a second baseman. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I don't pay attention to players I don't care about.
Right, that's okay.
Well, I actually don't care about baseball, so no offense to these guys. It's just
I know
this current crop of players, I'm just not motivated for. But we've had that discussion before. We'll have that discussion again.
No doubt.
Tonight is not the night.
No, and let me just say this. What was I going to say? Like I said, the focus is going to shift, and any deals that aren't done, like again, there's going to be a lot of action tonight now because Zobrist has signed, I'd imagine. Any deals that go into Thursday, again, very unlikely to get done. And in retrospect, if you look back at the past years of the winter meetings when things have gotten done, and there's been winter meetings when actually nothing got done, or very little got done. Usually Tuesday night to Wednesday is the most active, and you're starting to see that. Zobrist is off the board. The Yankees made that trade for Castro, and Shelby Miller got traded. I mean, so now you're seeing the activity pick up. Usually Tuesday night into Wednesday is the busiest time, and then you might get a few little deals, and then after that, it's like I said, that doesn't mean that deals are dead. It just means that they get dragged down to next week, and then because a lot of deals start at the winter meetings and play out over the next few weeks prior to Christmas, and then once you get beyond Christmas, you don't see a whole lot of movement. It's pretty much all the big moves happen. We've been more and more over the years. We've been seeing a lot of big moves happen before the winter meetings. And there was a period of time, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, when a lot of big meetings happened a week after the winter meetings, but they were set up by the winter meetings, which happens a lot. And you could see that happening here, especially with how slow the market kind of developed this year, and how slow of a market it's been more for the offensive players, the position players. Until a lot of these position players come off the board, you're not going to see too many trades outside of pitching. And that's really all the trades you've seen have been pitching. Because, a lot of these guys were high priced and people knew that they were going to be out of the bidding wars to begin with. So now that the big pitchers are off the board, any pitching moves you see are going to be of the trade variety. And now that Zobrist is off the board, the focus will go on to like Chris Davis, Jason Hayward. And then when those guys come off the board, then it's going to be all right, who's available by trade as far as position players, then you'll see activity there. It's all about how the dominoes fall and how quickly they fall, and where they fall, and what's the price tag on the free agent market, what's the depth of talent on the free agent market, and that's how everything kind of plays out. And as a GM, that's what you got to kind of monitor and deal with. But look, so far, other than the Yankee move for Castro, the Zobrist move is a good move for the Cubs. And look, he knows Joe Maddon. He played for Joe Maddon in Tampa. I don't really understand it because, they do have enough infielders. They really didn't need Zobrist. That's why they're getting rid of Castro. They don't need Zobrist. But they're getting rid of Castro before they even got in on Zobrist. But Zobrist is the perfect Joe Maddon kind of guy. He likes to move his position players around, especially in the infield. So Zobrist is used to that. So I guess maybe it was just a fit for the manager. And look, Price makes – we talked about the David Price thing last week. It makes a lot of sense for the Red Sox on the surface, but we all know his postseason numbers. The Greinke thing is, it's a good thing for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So I guess that's a good move. It's the years and the prices is ridiculous, but we all know contracts now are going to be like that. But so far, a lot of these moves, I got to be honest, Arizona's are okay, and they make sense, but a lot of these moves to me are like, I don't see anything like game changing. I don't see anything that's happened so far. I'm like, oh, wow, that team instantly becomes a threat it doesn't, I don't see anything that's fundamentally changed the team beyond belief at this point. It doesn't make a drastic change, takes a team from like last place to automatically being a first place team or maybe being a World Series contender. I don't see any of that so far. I don't see anything earth shattering yet. Yeah, there's been big signings, but nothing that I think can change the complete complexion of a division or the American League or the National. I don't see anything like that yet. And I don't think that's going to happen this week. And I don't even know if it's going to happen this entire offseason because, there's talent, but there's not a great deal of it. We're in an era now where a lot of the big players are getting long-term contracts from their teams because they're, the money is there where it wasn't maybe for a lot of these teams years ago where they, these smaller market teams would let their free agents go. Now that's not happening so much anymore because of revenue sharing and a bunch of other things. So I expect things to be active. I expect things to be interesting. To what scale, I don't know. I do think there'll be a lot of moves made tonight. I do think there'll be a lot of moves made tomorrow, and then it'll quiet down. And then we'll see maybe the fallout from maybe some things that started this week, next week. And then we'll have couple more big signings, and then that will be it. I do not think that there will be a whole lot of moves in January, February, trade or free agency. I think most of the big free agents will be gone by then. I think a lot of any trades that will be in play will have transpired either over this week or next week or the week after. I don't think anything's going to go into 2016. If it does, I think it'll extend into the season and then probably be something you talk about in July. Because I don't think a lot of teams don't like to do that. They like to be able to have the rosters and know what they're getting into once come January because spring training is only right around the corner at that point. So I think tonight will be interesting. I think tomorrow will be interesting. I think next week will be interesting. And then after that, I think we've reached, the end of the activity. And that's the way the baseball hot stove works. It's the couple weeks after Thanksgiving are really interesting with the winter meetings and stuff. And then once you get to Christmas, I think most of the activity is usually done. Very rarely do you see big activity after that until the trade deadline and during the season. So, obviously, we'll keep covering baseball. If there's any big news coming out of the winter meetings or any big moves, obviously we will cover them. If there's something really big that happens and we have to talk about it, it can't sit. Even though we're doing a wrestling show on Thursday, we'll maybe do a brief little segment on it. Otherwise, anything beyond that, we'll just cover on next Wednesday, I should say. So, because we're not going to do a Tuesday show next week. Next Wednesday, when we do our usual sports coverage, we'll obviously do like a wrap up of the winter meetings and cover any baseball moves that have happened since. But yeah, we're not done talking the winter meetings by any means. But for right now, that's there hasn't been We already covered the price deal last week. You know, there's not much you can say about Greinke. And these moves, I think we covered all the big moves that have happened so far. So obviously, again, we'll continue our coverage as we go along here and see. It should be a very active night at the winter meetings and a very active day tomorrow as well. And again, anything that happens, if it's something big or shattering, we'll cover it maybe a little bit on Thursday. If not, we'll obviously do a full wrap up of the winter meetings next Wednesday's show. So, all right, we have covered everything. It's pretty much all we needed to get to tonight. Again, we're on the entertainment side of things. There wasn't really any entertainment news that anybody out there sent to us that they wanted us to talk about, nor was there anything I felt was worth talking about. So, outside of that, I think I mean we covered everything else. So without entertainment news to discuss, I think we're pretty much done. We did everything on the sports side, anything on the entertainment side. So with that, I think we will wind down. As always, the show might be over. That does not mean you have to stop interacting or contributing with our show. You can continue to have your voice heard and interact with us either by email at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. And please remember to use the hashtags, if you will, hashtag itspotlight411 or hashtag ITS5. ITS5, of course, representing our 5th anniversary on the air as a podcast. You can also find us on Facebook. Search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure that you like our page upon finding it. You can send us feedback, questions about the show, schedule of the show, general feedback, reactions, or comments related to things we said on the show or topics we did on the show, suggestions, recommendations, breaking news items, or topics you want to see us cover. Any of those things you can email, Facebook, or tweet us. You want to catch up on our shows. The best way to do that currently right now, because I've been told that our new host site won't be up till tomorrow morning. At least we know we have a ETA now. We haven't had ETA for like a month. But for the best way to catch up on our shows right now, as far as our recent shows, meaning the shows that we've done since we debuted here on Google Plus and on YouTube, is here on Google Plus and on YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. We have this is our 21st episode on here. So if you want to catch up on any of these 21 episodes, you can do so. Again, just search for In the Spotlight 411 here on Google Plus. Google Hangouts, I should say. Google Plus, Google Hangouts, whatever you want to call it, and on YouTube. And once you search for In the Spotlight 411, you'll find our channel, find all the episodes that we've had on here since we debuted here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube. So if you want to catch up on any recent episodes, including this one, that's the way you can do that. If you're waiting for more of an audio kind of deal, we are working on that, and we should have that up and running for tomorrow, which is good news. I've been waiting at least for an ETA, estimated time, to tell you all, and I finally got word of that today, so that's good news. And once we have that, you can, for those of you that are more comfortable checking us out in audio format, you'll have that luxury both on our new host site, Podbean, and on iTunes, which we used to always have episodes up on, but we haven't had any episodes up on since we moved to TalkShoe. So now if you're somebody that's either a longtime fan that wants to check out old shows or a new fan that wants to learn a little more about us and what we do on the show, you can check out some of our older shows from our days on Blog Talk Radio, where you can find our original 31 episodes, the first 31 episodes ever of our show. Or you can check out all the rest of our episodes from the original episodes all the way up to when we moved here to Hangouts and YouTube. You can check those out over on TalkShoe.com, Blog Talk Radio, TalkShoe.com, Libsyn.com, and iTunes. So 4 sites we can check out episodes that we've done over the last 5 years. So if you're interested in any of those, again, just go to blogtalkradio.com for our first 31 episodes. Our original 31 episodes are on there. Or TalkShoe.com for the Libsyn.com or iTunes for the rest. And you want to search for In the Spotlight with Brian Gardner at all those sites. That's our old show title. Again, that's In the Spotlight with Brian Gardner. Search for us under that title on all those sites: Blog Talk Radio, TalkShoe, iTunes, and Libsyn. Again, that's Blog Talk Radio, TalkShoe, Libsyn, and iTunes. Just search for us on there, and you'll find those old episodes, and you can listen to them again. And they're all in audio format, MP3 format. If you want, you can listen to them anytime you wish. So if you're a longtime fan and wants to check them out again, maybe you never checked out all of them, maybe it's an episode or two that you want to check out. Or if you're a new fan and just want to learn more about us, you can do that on those with those older episodes. And again, for recent episodes, check us out here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. And then tomorrow we'll have the other stuff up and running. And then on Thursday, you all can start checking us out on there as well, should you be more comfortable with that. So I know that's a lot of information. I can't wait till we have the new host site and iTunes back, so I don't have to keep saying, well, you only have to check us out here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube. Because I know there's a lot of people that just prefer us in audio. And I can understand that. So, all right. With all that being said, I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
Good night, everybody.
And I want to thank myself for another great show. And thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching and for all that you do. We really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for bearing with us as usual, and for being really, really awesome fans. We really do appreciate it. That's it for tonight. We will see you back for our next show. Again, 3 shows this week. The first show being tonight, Thursday night, an all wrestling show previewing WWE's TLC pay-per-view. We'll go over the match card, make predictions, talk about all the storylines, angles. Of course, also answer questions and comments from the listener. From the fans. So if you're whether you're a wrestling fan or a non-wrestling fan, you can participate. You can either submit your questions or comments either prior to the show on Thursday or during the show, and you can do that via email, Facebook, and Twitter. So keep that in mind. And that will be our show on Thursday, an all wrestling show previewing WWE TLC pay-per-view. And then, of course, as I said, Friday right now is the date, the tentative time, although I'm pretty sure it's going to be like this. Right now, we have currently scheduled the In the Spotlight Football Blitz for this week for Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern time. But again, it could be changed to as early as noon Eastern time. Friday. It will be definitely on Friday. And right now, again, I'd say 80% sure it will be at 2 o'clock Eastern time. But again, there is a slight chance we move it to noon Eastern time. If that is the case, that if it does move to noon, I'll let you all know on Thursday night's show, give you a little enough of a notice to know that that's going to be the case. So, with all that being said, I hope you all have a great night, a great Wednesday, and a great Thursday. We'll see you back here broadcasting live on Google Hangouts and on YouTube for our next show previewing WWE's TLC pay-per-view, broadcasting live here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube at 8 o'clock Eastern time this Thursday. Until then, have a good night, everybody.